All right, welcome back to Tea and Stuff. I am here with my friend Ye Ming, all the way from Germany. Welcome.
Hello.
What are you drinking?
Because it's evening time and I'm a little bit sensitive to caffeine in the evening, so I will now go with a Chopin. And I have no idea where it's from. It was a gift.
Gift tea is always fun to break into.
But it's not much anymore. See?
Oh.
It's nearly gone.
Oh, so it's not one that you're just breaking into. You've had this one before.
Yeah.
Ah, very nice. I'm doing so I had a Dong Ding just arrive. So I paid the invoice like literally just a few days ago, and there it is on my doorstep today. I don't know. I didn't pay for overnight. The Tea Angels just must have been on my side. So I was really excited about this Dong Ding. It's from the same producer that I bought Dong Ding from last year, and it uses a low and slow roasting method. Uses long and charcoal, and so it doesn't need to rest. It doesn't have that extreme harshness of the roast. And then they also oxidize this as well. So it's oxidized as well as roasted.
That sounds lovely and very tasty, but too late for me.
Oh, I know. Well, Dong Ding's a weird one for me. I feel like I can have it into the early evening, and it doesn't affect me as much as the greener ones. But all tea affects me pretty significantly after like 5 p.m.
Yeah. I stop drinking tea normally after 3 p.m., sometimes after 2 p.m. And if friends are joining, then I have a sleepless night. Let's say so.
That exactly. You sacrifice it for the party. So I can't remember exactly when we started talking or when we well, we'll get to where we started talking, but I think we've followed each other on Instagram and stuff for a really long time.
Yeah.
And then one time you were doing a live session. I tell people about this story all the time because it's a really cool one, and it happened years ago. So it was that much cooler, I guess, or just dating myself. So you were doing a live session all in German, and I could just, from the body language and the look on your face, and even though you were speaking in German, and I know absolutely no German, it was really wild because I could really tell a lot of what you were saying.
Yeah.
And then afterwards we talked about just sort of being like, wow, this cool little thing happened. And we had this momentary realization that tea officially just broke language barriers.
Yeah.
So that was just such an awesome, cool experience. And on top of that, you kind of do a lot. You do a lot of tea education. You're not a vendor. You drew that line, but you like to do the education. You have your own podcast, which I was on, one of your only English episodes, but hopefully, more to come, and hopefully more English speaking people can give a shot at German, maybe, and try to go up with you. So just to give a really, really brief history, how did you get into the practice of tea that you have now?
That's my journey with tea started in 1998 and with a Kung Fu training. So I started with martial arts, and my teacher was very traditional. So first of all, we came into the school, and then he tried if we really, really want to learn his style of Kung Fu. That was a very old method, very traditional. And first of all, we had to stand for 3 months, just in the corner, of course, in a marble. Every Kung Fu person know what I mean. So every training hour, we have to stand there and just watch, did nothing. So a lot of people get bored and just went away, but I really want to learn. So after 3 months, he said, okay, now I prove your will, but before we break something, we have to heal. We have to learn how to heal. So he showed us the traditional method of Tuina Anmo. This is a competition massage. So, and after we learned how to heal, then he said, okay, before you go out, you have to go in. And he teaches us the tea tradition. Maybe it's because he was a little bit lazy and let us make the tea for him. But I found the other explanation much more interesting. And so my journey with tea started. And that's why I always ask the people in my podcast, how is your journey with tea? Because my journey with tea was so interesting. As I came, I was a very quiet person. I'm very tall. I'm 1 meter and 87, and taller than much other girls. And so I was a very quiet person. And also I'm very separated, and I'm a very hypersensitive person. So I was very alone, and I just came to this time. I still remember this situation. After the training, we sit there and had a cup of tea and watching Kung Fu movies with my brothers and sisters from the martial art training. And then we was just talking about tea. And then they asked me, how do you like the tea? And I was, why you ask me? What's so special about my opinion? But the thing is, this is what I learned this day. When it comes to tea, there is no right and no wrong. And this was very opening and very helpful for me to open myself and to get curious, to listen to other stories, and also to tell my own story. And that's how my tea journey starts. And then some years later, I'm traveling to China, visiting the tea mountains, found out that I had no chance to learn anything just by speaking English. So 2 years later, coming back and having some Chinese language in my pocket. And there's a situation in the mountain of Mungdingshan in Sichuan. There was an old lady. The old lady invited us for a cup of tea. And see, my Chinese is enough for ordering food, for ordering tea, for surviving, getting train tickets. But for deeper conversation about religion, about politics, whatever, is not enough. Let's say so. It's street Chinese. So we came into this tea shop in the mountains, and there was the old lady prepares a black tea for us. And I still remember she was talking and telling us a lot about the tea. And by gesture, by talking, by tasting the tea, it's the same you had with me. I just understand everything, even if I just understand every fifth word. But we could have a conversation about tea, and that is so special when it comes to tea. And that makes me so curious also for life and for people's stories, that I had to start my blog, I had to start the podcast, I had to start Instagram to find out, to teach people about tea, about connection, about spirituality. Everything belongs to the tea traditions. Yeah.
And it's so, and you're also a mother, correct?
Yes, of 2.
Now, did your yeah, I know, let's correct, that is 2. You have to be specific because you get extra credit for having more than one. How did your tea practice, or did it change after you had kids?
Yeah. As I was pregnant, the first 3 months with my son, he's first, I could not eat anything. I could not drink anything. So it was really, really hard for me to take something from my body. And of course, the tea changes. I could not drink every tea, and I sometimes just have one tea a day. Before I had 4 to 5. So it lowered down. After 3 months, I slowly had maybe 2 teas a day. But as my son was born, I still continued drinking tea. But everyone, when you read the newspaper, when you read the woman paper as well, then the people always say, caffeine is very bad for the kids. So I was very, I tried to find out, and I contact all my friends in China and asked them, what are you doing with tea during pregnancy? And I said, it's no problem. Your body knows when to stop. And this is exactly what I'm teaching today, to listen to your body, to go back to your body. Because you already have everything inside of you. You know what you need. And yeah, my kids also drinking tea now. They are, my son is 7 and my daughter is 4. And they love it to have these tiny cups. Okay, it's a big cup. But we have those tiny cups, and I have a Totoro here, see? They love it. And this fox. And they come drink a cup of tea and then they go play. But yeah, the pregnancy makes me more carefully with tea. Organic, it must be organic. There is no other way for me. Or little farmers who care for the tea. And also, there's a story. A friend of mine just sent me 2 gyokuro from Japan and let me taste it, because I call myself tea-fluencer. And sometimes I'm trying for my community, I'm trying a lot of tea from a lot of stores. And he sent me two different gyokuros, and one was so amazing. And I called him and I asked him, who made this tea?
Yeah.
And he said, yeah, this is a very special tea because it comes from a very old master. And I said, yes, because I tasted it. This tea was so balanced, so wonderful in energy that, I could taste it. And this is also after pregnancy, slowly, I'm getting more sensitive to myself and of course to the tea. Yeah.
It's because a lot of people like go really, like you said, like a lot of the pregnancy magazines and stuff like that you read, they'll really they'll try to discourage the mothers from consuming caffeine while they're pregnant. And then, like you said, also it's like tea is like an absolute no-no for kids. And I mean, like you said, you look at China, like look at these countries that they've grown up with tea. Most of the kids are offered tea on a pretty regular basis, and they drink it. Like you said, it's just like, let's say your kid does have an unquenchable thirst for tea, and you have to cut them off eventually. Okay. Yeah. But so then that's that. Like, as long as you don't, as a parent, I guess, as long as you don't see an effect on your kid when they're drinking the tea, then you're right. Then, like, listen to your body. If your body's not suffering, I mean, caffeine isn't, you don't want to, like, teach kids that caffeine consumption is, the way also, to gain energy. But
the thing is also when you're pregnant, so when you're pregnant,
I won't get there, but
but your body is hypersensitive to any food because it saves the child in the body. So that's why we're so often suffering with food and drinks and so on. And that's why it gives us a direct feedback when we eat something. and we get really getting sick. I never had this after and before. But yeah, we get a direct communication. And of course, if you're not feeling those, then you have to be careful. But then, because then you can overuse everything. Then you have to be careful. And if your kids only drinking tea with caffeine, then you also have to be careful. But it's the same with sugared drinks, the same with sugared food, and it's the same with everything. So, but I found out that my kids just come, love these tiny cups, drink a tiny cup of tea, and maybe the third infusion, because it's not much caffeine inside. They love it to sit here, and then they just go on play.
And I think it's a fantastic, even if, like you said, your kids are just observing you during this practice and then them just getting to enjoy it for the time they want to enjoy it, and then they move on. Like, it's really going to help bring activities and not hobbies, but practices like this. They'll be more familiar to them. So later on in life, they'll definitely look back and appreciate it. For sure.
Yeah, slowly, my son is 7 now. Slowly, he have to learn to make tea, because then he can prepare the tea for me. Yeah, see, this is a Chinese tradition. The kids always have to prepare the teas for their family, for their mother and father, for the parents. So my kids are half Chinese, by the way.
Oh, really? I did not know that.
Yeah, there are.
So you are. So obviously you're German, but do you have do you have any other origins, or is your family from Germany?
My family is from Germany. Yeah.
It's so weird. I'm so used to not hearing that. Like, I'm so used to asking someone, "Oh, where are you from?" And I have some German. I have some, because I'm in America. But that's
usual in the US. Huh? But here it's normal, let's say so. But of course, my kids are often asked too.
What's the Gong Fu tea scene like in Germany? I mean, you're in a major area. Are you in Munich?
Slowly it's growing. But it's a lot of work to teach people see, the normal European way, I don't know if it's the same in the US, but I guess it's very, very similar. The normal European person is drinking tea when they're getting sick. So this is how the people think about tea. And this is what I like to change, to make more aware that this is, because this is one of the drinks after water that's so healthy, and it's so different. Nothing else is more different than tea. So you have oolong, you have white, you have green, you have yellow, you have pu'er, you have shampoo, and even there are differences.
Yep. Country to country, mountain to mountain.
Yeah, from mountain to mountain. And even one mountain.
Yep.
Have a different kind of tea, because it depends on the master who makes the tea. Yeah. And this is my work I like to do to bring the people back to their body, because I think this kind of tea ceremony, because at the end of the day, it's a method to make tea. This kind of ceremony is helping the people to come back to themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And to find out who they are, what they can do. And it's also, I always say, because I'm also a hypnosis coach, I help the people to just, because in the morning you clean your body, you wash yourself, you're having a shower, you clean your teeth, you brush your teeth, clean your fingernails, you try to be healthy from outside, but what's with the inside? What's with your head? What's with your thoughts? And this is a perfect way to clean your mind, is on the tea table.
it's the perfect neutralizer. Like it serves so many purposes to so many people. And in the current day, there's obviously a lot people are worrying and stressing about. And like you said, I don't think a lot of people look inwards. And I
Yeah,
think a lot of people don't look inwards just merely because they don't know. They
yeah,
forget. Like you said, a lot of people have been using this analogy. I've heard this a lot recently, is that you brush your teeth every day, but yet you still go to the dentist. And it's not because you're not doing a good job. It's a checkup. It's
yeah,
maintenance. It's just so it truly we do that for our body, like you said, washing. We do that every day because it's common sense to us, but we really do forget. At least over here, I'll talk about in our culture over here, that's something that I feel like most people are missing. And it doesn't mean like a lot of people think that like, oh, to do that, I have to sit on the floor with my legs crossed and do om. And like a lot of people don't, like I tell a lot of people ask if I meditate, and I do, but I don't, that's not how I meditate. I meditate every day. I take baths. I
yeah,
prefer hot baths. And the time where the water is filling up and I'm listening to the crushing of the water, I'm feeling the water slowly rise up and warm my body. You know what I mean? That is
yeah,
the part of my day where I am separated from everything else, and that's meditation. And that's, a lot of people have such a weird misconception about how these things should look. I know it's another thing that we are very similar about, that we've identified, is that we when we got into doing tea practice and like teaching, we looked at how it's being done traditionally, and we saw everybody with the traditional buttoned up shirts and all that stuff. And you want to, when you're doing this, you want to pay homage. You want people to understand where this is coming from. Like that's a really
yeah,
big part of it. But for all of us, that's not natural. Like I
yeah.
thought about doing that. I thought about during my live sessions
I did
playing
it.
Mandarin music,
I
and
did it
it
10
just
years ago. I was dressed up in a cheap hall, and that wasn't easy to get for me with this 1 meter and 87 because everything is so tiny.
but yeah,
And
it's
but I cannot cut myself off. So at the end of the day, I'm still a tall girl. And I have to find my own way to make tea. And that is also what I liked about you. And that's why I'm popping in your live session very often. First of all, we often drank the same tea, right? There was a
mm-hmm.
time we often had the same tea in our cup. That was really, really funny when I'm joining your live session and just found out that you're drinking the same tea. And second of all, is you're very natural and authentic. And this
Thank
is
you.
really what I like about it, because this is also the thing I want to show. You don't need to be someone else to make your tea. And even the things I'm using on my tea table, it don't need to be Chinese. Okay, today it's yeah, but I have a stone from the mountains in Germany over here. Or this is also the coaster, for example. I found it on a flea market. It's a very old stuff from Germany.
Ooh.
And even the Shanghai, or they have some, let me see if I have some, no, not yet. But sometimes I found these tiny little milk
Oh,
pots.
I know,
They look
like a
very similar, and they're very beautiful when you go to the flea market, and I use them. So even I also made an online course. It's in German right now, but I definitely will translate it into English for Gongfu Cha. And the one question I always get, they said, Ye Ming, you have a lot of things on your tea table. Do I need this? Because it scares me. And I said, no. At the end of the day, you need a gaiwan and a cup. And the cup needs to be taller than your teapot. And that's it. And then you start your journey. You don't need a lot of stuff.
Well, I tell people to not be intimidated by all the stuff that you see on my table, because this stuff is only here because I like it to be there. Like I like this little stump because it's my nice little lid rest. So I have a place to set my lid. The only reason I have that is because that is important to me. I've found that really helps me enjoy my session. But if you don't need that, then it doesn't need to be there.
Yeah, because they think they have to buy a lot of stuff to start. But it's often like this. You see something, there's a martial arts class. I want to join, but I have no martial arts clothes. Yes. Take a training pants and a shirt and go there. So you don't need to buy a lot of stuff. You just have to start. Do you know how I started my tea journey? I told you it was in 1998. So we did not have any tea shop over here.
You're good.
So sometimes my master brings some tea from Taiwan, but he really brings the good stuff. This stuff you cannot even buy. This is so rare, maybe 100 grams or 500 grams exist. And it's so rare that you cannot find a price for this. So you have to gift it. So there was a really good stuff. But we cannot afford it. So how do we practice our tea? So we find somewhere, I don't know where, we found a tiny teapot and take a normal cup. And then we went to the Asia market and bought this very cheap gunpowder tea. You know the gunpowder? You have it over there? It's
gunpowder
horrible.
Green. Yeah.
It's horrible. And it's not even taste good. But it was a tea for us. And it starts our journey. And we practice with that. We just had an infusion time of 5 minutes. And then we just did our training program. When I think back, that was not these cups of tea, let's say, so that was for the effect to our body, but not for our taste. Yeah. So you don't need to do a lot of things. You just have to start and to find your own way and the way you can afford to start.
Yeah. Yeah. A lot of people ask, they'll be like, oh, I found this really cool cup at the flea market, the flea market or whatever. And they're like, but it's not for tea. So, and I'm like, well, but do you want it to be? Like, if it's a cup, you can use it a cup. Like you said, you're talking like a creamer pitcher.
Yeah.
Like little, yeah. Like if you find one of those, if it appeals to you visually, then it works for you.
Yeah.
I think milk or creamer. I think they're both. You could use either of that. But yeah, the little pourer, and it's like my favorite thing that's not teaware that I use as teaware are bowls for tea boats.
Yeah.
Like I love going to Chinatown kitchen stores and going through all their cheap plates and bowls and stuff like that, because some of that stuff is so good for tea.
Yeah, definitely. I do the same. I have a lot of stuff over here. It's not made for tea. Have those, for example, see? It's not made for tea. It was very cheap. I still have the price, but I often use it to make tea leaves inside for showing, or just putting a cup of it. Or it's a very little and tiny tea boat for a small teapot, because I have very small teapots over here.
What's the smallest one you have?
There's a funny story. Maybe I show you the smallest, and then I tell you the story to this teapot. Wait.
Okay.
It's not far. See this one?
Oh, wow. Yeah, that is way smaller than mine. Oh my
This
gosh.
is
How
so
many?
cute. I bought it on eBay because I wanted a jade teapot. And I bought it on eBay. It came from the US and it looks very nice. But I had no idea about inches.
Oh, so you were getting a full-size teapot. Oh,
Yeah.
that's
And then and I was wondering why it's so cheap. And I said, okay, don't care because it looks good. And then I bought it and then it came. It was just a tiny package.
you're
And I
so
said, it's not my
confused.
teapot. And yeah, and this came out. So now it's a teapot. But I also used it because you can use it as a for making tea, but it's
Mine is not that small. It is small, but not that small.
yeah, this
A
is cute as well.
tiny
But
little
you can use
handmade.
it as well, right?
This is a little handmade Yixing pot.
Yeah.
My
And
wife bought it for me because I needed to have a mini teapot. It was one of the things I really wanted,
yeah,
like for myself. And it's a lot of people like kind of giggle and they're like, well, why would you have a teapot that small? And it's like, well, sometimes like, especially if you have like really, really nice teas, like ball rolled oolongs, sometimes you have like just a gram or two left over.
yeah,
And sometimes you're kind of at a crossroads with what to do with that tea. Like, that's why I like small gaiwans and small teapots because
yeah,
you
definitely.
can make them practical.
I have one I'm using for those kind of stuff. It's a little bit bigger than yours, but this is made by a European tea potter. This is a side handle. See,
Ooh, I
this
like
also
that.
is very cute. And this I'm using for those leftovers. For some, yeah. Because you can use it for every tea. It's not glazed, but it's a different kind of clay. So I'm using and nearly use it for every tea.
We have a lot of clays here in the US that are very, like, they really don't affect the tea in a bad way or a good way. You can generally just use it for different things.
Yeah.
So many people get so tied up on the tokaname, chaozhou, yixing, like that they think that every clay's got to be like this, and it's like, no, not necessarily.
Yeah, that's true. That makes a big difference. That's true. That is what I find out. So I'm usually finding out with porcelain.
What's your favorite vessel material? We were talking about that today, and after thinking about it for a while, I'm pretty strong on porcelain. I really appreciate what it does to almost every tea.
Yeah, I love clay teapots. I love it and I adore it. But when I think about, I'm often using porcelain for brewing tea. At the end of the day, I think at the moment, I have around 50 teapots.
Oh yeah, you don't feel guilty. I don't. Ooh, I would be afraid to do a count of every teapot, but
Yeah.
I know the last time I counted how many gaiwan I have, I was in the 30s at least. Like, I mean, even within my sight of view, I can see at least like 20. like, like,
And
like,
behind, I have a lot. Yeah,
so
because
is
I'm
this a,
definitely into teapots. When you ask me, I'm someone who's using a teapot. I love it. Look at this one. This is very cute, found in an Asia shop. There you have a dragon and the tongue comes out.
oh, I like that.
This is so playful and I love it. And the kids love it as well.
I was in a shop once and I found a small clay vessel that was shaped like a chicken.
Yeah.
And it was beautiful. I mean, it was beautiful. It was, I mean, even if you just had it because of how it looked It was a beautiful teapot. It was funny that it looked like a chicken, but it was a beautiful looking
Yeah.
teapot. How has the whole coronavirus thing? How's that? Are you teaching again? Are you holding events again, or is that all frozen?
It could be, it could happen yet, but the thing is, the people are afraid. A lot of people are afraid. Normally, I'm just taking 8 person, not more. Even without all this virus thing, I'm just taking 8 person because I want to have a connection to everyone. And yeah, since 2 years, I'm not making a workshop with people around me. I had some presentations, but not a big workshop. Doing a lot of stuff online. Yeah, I built up my online course, Cha Basics, it's called. So because I was struggling a lot to do tea online. Okay, I can represent the tea, I can taste for the people, but at the end of the day, you have to drink the tea. Yep. You can watch me making tea, and maybe that makes you calm, and maybe that helps you to slow down. But at the end of the day, you have to try the tea. Last time, I don't know if it's popular, I had a follower. She had a tea machine from Vorwerk. And she told me, oh, she likes my tiny stuff, but she have a tea machine. And I said, oh, you're living close to me. I'm coming around. Let's do machine against you. Versus, yeah, let's see, tea master versus machine. And that was very interesting. And now she often writes me and said, wow, this is such an experience, and never thought that tea can taste like that. I'm thinking differently, I'm tasting differently, even my food. So this is, the people watch me, but see, when you watch a Kung Fu movie, you are excited about Jet Li, what he is doing. But if you go to a lesson, you find out what you have to learn and what you cannot do and what you have to improve. What are your skills right now? Where are you, and where you like to go? But when you see Jet Li, I'm often dreaming I can do the split like Van Damme after watching a movie, but in the morning I cannot do it. So you have to drink the tea. That's why I was struggling a lot to do online classes. Yes, you can send samples to the people and can make a Zoom meeting, but then it depends on the water and what kind of vessels they have to have the same experience like you. And so I was thinking a lot, what can I do to make an online course? And then I found out, okay, I can teach the basics. All the basics I learned in China, I learned from everywhere, because I was in Syria one year before the war started in Damascus. I was there. I had lots of conversations. Do you know that they drink mate over there? That is so popular in Syria. I didn't know.
In Syria?
Yeah. I bought my mate tea and all this stuff for mate in Syria. Because there was a lot of immigrants went to South America and still had the family, but they loved the mate drinking because of the caffeine and the effects to the body. So they bring all this stuff to their country. It's the only Arab country as far as I know, they have mate over there. Then I went to Turkey and drink tea with the old people on the street. And I was nearly everywhere and had a lot of tea, a lot of meeting people for tea in Indonesia, wherever. And so everywhere I take something from my tea table. So some people call me Bruce Lee for tea. And so I can teach the basics. And a lot of people love that I'm not that traditional, because I don't tell you, you have to buy a gaiwan. I will not tell you that you have to warm up your tea water to 100 degrees. I will tell you how to start, what to think about, but the way you have to go. And so in this lesson and in this course, I'm teaching all the basics. And the interesting about the course is also that I'm not representing any tea in the course. So I just tell you how to do Gongfu-cha and what could be the effect if you do it daily or if you take it to your life. And
that's what a lot of people need.
Yeah. And in the end of the course, I give you some tea shops I'm using. But what you are using, this is up to you.
Yeah,
because
well, a lot of people.
Who am I to tell you how to drink your tea?
Well, I feel like a lot of people have had, at least I'll talk for like American people. I know a lot of American people have had experiences with very formal Chinese tea tastings, and it's been so beautiful and so orchestrated that they have felt very out of place to ask a question. Yeah. So it's not that that's a wrong way of presenting tea. That's the right way for their culture to present the way they do
Definitely.
tea. But for you and I who aren't necessarily from there, we're a bit third party. So we get to take our influences from other places. Like yeah, well, that was when I started getting into tea. I started looking for like a mentor, like this one holy mentor that could be the one person I could always go to for every answer. But I found that their answer wasn't always the answer I felt was correct. And then this person had a different answer from this person, but then neither of them were wrong. So it just taught me that just like, don't assume that it's all one way. Like it can be any definition of things, but if you want to take the wheel from there and do your own thing with it, then you go for it. If people are receptive to it, then phenomenal.
Definitely. That's what I said at the beginning. There's no right and no wrong, because at the end, it's your taste. And if it's tasty, if you're drinking a tea bag, then it's right. Okay.
This is the only thing I'll do with Zoom. This is the only way you'll ever. I like you when Corona happened and all tea educators and stuff were looking at, okay, it looks like I'm going to have to figure out a digital option for what I do. Yeah. I sat there forever, and like you did, and there's such a great disconnect that you just cannot recreate over the internet. There is just this actual special human to human being in each other's presence that if you remove that for me, if you like it, by the computer, you are forcibly removing that, and I don't really like it. Like I don't, it's taken out what I love about it. So it's like, okay, that's where I said, okay, well then plan B, what are we going to do? And development of the podcast is where I said, this is how I can use what I have and help bring other people that are doing interesting things together and do that continuation. Plus Instagram has been very weird with, not notifying people about things. It's hard for people to follow you on Instagram. It's harder these days because of algorithms and all that fun stuff. So I knew, and then I just thought about, well, what happens if Instagram just one day it's no more? And I was like, well, then that would be no good. So I have to start another platform where if people, or let's say people are even just frustrated with Instagram, I want to give them another place they can go to for tea content. So that's where the podcasts came into development. Yeah. But I will say that there are some people that did do some amazingly creative things with Zoom.
Yeah. So my intention for making the podcast was because I'm writing a blog since I think 2008. But with the kids, it's getting harder to concentrate, especially in the Corona time, because I have them around. The school was closed, the kindergarten was closed, everything was closed. So I was here as a woman. I'm alone, by the way. So I'm a lonely mother with two kids sitting here and have to create content. And then there was an idea, because I can speak much better for writing articles, I need a lot of concentration. So for me, the podcast was born just this way. And then I was thinking to invite people by drinking tea. So first of all, the intention was to invite people to have a one-on-one tea session and talk about the tea we are drinking and having some interviews. But now the time is changing more and more. And so, okay, I said, okay, then let's make a Zoom meeting and have it for the podcast. Because at the first, I like to have a one-on-one because the energy is much different. Also in the workshops, I found out that, do you know the people, the women who bring their husbands with them and the husband sitting like that?
Mm-hmm.
Do you know them?
Yes, I do.
They're sitting like that and say, oh, what do you want to tell me? And then they're having the first cup of tea like this. And then during the infusions, you see how they slowly open. And when they're fully open, even the body language, then they ask questions, and they ask really good questions. Because the woman brings a man because she's very interested in a cup of tea, because tea is good for health and diet. And the man said, oh, well, what's this stuff? And then it slowly opened. And then he asked really good questions. And this is the change I love when I'm having those workshops, when I'm making tea ceremonies. I love to see how the energy is flowing, how the people changing. First of all, we're drinking an oolong tea with a lot of layers. So every infusion is different. So the people slowly get aware of their bodies. They slowly bring their backpacks of thoughts, of problems out. So then we have a second tea. We're drinking a pu'er tea. And when we're having a show pour, when we're talking about show pour, maybe you know that the most people don't like it. They hate it. So that's also the feedback I'm getting from the people in tea ceremony. They said, I don't like it, but I feel it's so good for my body.
That's
thinking how this energy is changing. This is what I'm living for, and this is what I'm doing the workshop, and this is what I really love, to give this comfortable feeling to someone. Yeah.
I had two new friends over last weekend, and my wife and I had them over for tea here, and this was definitely their first Gong Fu experience. But we're both tea drinkers and very, very excited to learn more once, you know what I mean, they had an idea of what I did. And before I could even say anything, we were doing Shanlin Shi, and we did the first steep, and we got, oh, this tastes so nice, blah, blah, blah. But then we get to the second steep, and the gentleman took his first sip, and then he goes, whoa, he's like, the flavor got stronger, and I'm like, yes. It's like, without me even having to say anything, you see that, like, so many people, I hate it. So many people are like, oh, you do tea in New York, that must be so hard because everybody is a coffee person. And it's like, yeah, I would say most people in New York do drink coffee, but to think that they wouldn't understand good tea, I think that's inaccurate. I mean, in my experience, I've found if you brew it well and you present it genuinely, they like it. You were talking about the husbands. Like, I've done like farmers markets where the wife comes over, is, oh, tea, oh wow, is sipping them, and oh, I like this, and then the husband comes over and sort of like, hey, you know what's going on here, and they're like, oh, this is some excellent tea. Do you want to try some? And the husband always, does, no, I'm not a tea person, and then the wife will be like, no. They're like, really, I think you would like this, and so they sort of do the like, okay, fine, and you see him take a sip, and it's so cool when you see them sort of do that, like, wow, this is actually kind of nice.
Yeah.
And you see that look on their face that like, oh, I was wrong but I do understand where some people are coming from. There have been some people that have misrepresented tea huge here, and they've said, this is gong fu, this is high quality tea, this is high quality. But then you sip it and your brain goes, I don't like this. It's bitter and it's rough. And odds are it probably wasn't good tea, but because you've heard this sales pitch before about high-end tea that you can re-steep, it seems like such a tale. So like you said, when you or I are sitting in front of them and they're watching us, we're no tricks, add the leaves, add the water, couple seconds, empty it out, and then I give it to you. And you sip it right. You saw no sleight of hand, and they really see that tea, even steeped for a couple seconds, can be really flavorful and feel really good to drink.
And there's another thing, because I'm always telling the story as I started with my tea journey, because my first cup of tea, I hated. I hate the tea. But I love this connection between the people. That's why, and of course, these tiny little cups. But you have to know where I am coming from. I never liked coffee, and I'm not a coffee person. We're often drinking tea, but we're drinking sugared tea. Always sugar, very sweet. So now the tea was without sugar, and it was pure flavor. So I did not know that. It's like the most people did not know pour. They have nothing to compare it with. So first of all, I said, no, I don't like it. So I'm drinking sugared tea. I'm drinking soft drinks. Even we had a lot of chemical food at this time, because my mom was also alone at the evening. She just cooked very fast something for us, and she didn't know. So this is,
we grew up in you and I grew up in similar times, so same thing here.
So that's why it was hard for me to get those pure flavor, and it took me a long time. Luckily, these tea pots were so cute, and sometimes they call me mama. Yeah, that was so cute, and that's why. And also the atmosphere when we're sitting, all these Kung Fu brothers and sisters sitting together, the master was telling us something or brewing tea for us, we watching Kung Fu movies, whatever. This was the atmosphere, and that's why I'm continue drinking tea. And after a while I found out, so this is what I'm always teaching the people. So it's not necessary that you like it, but it's healthy for you. The things that are healthy for you, you don't need to like them. Green smoothie, for example, only vegetable, but it's healthy. A cold shower in the morning is healthy, but of course it's not comfortable. So, but over the time, you figure out and you feel better, and your body is changing. And then you realize that all this stuff is good for you, and you build up those taste memory. I call it taste memory, because in my pregnancy, I still know before I start to eat something, I ask myself, can I eat that? And then my body give me a direct reaction. And I said, no, okay, I cannot eat it. This is a kind of taste memory that helps us to survive as well in the time before, but now our body knows exactly what's good for us. And if you only have the taste memory of sweet stuff, so that's why create a lot of tastes. That's always say. Yeah.
Something I've found a lot of success with lately with that is sort of a mantra I've been repeating to people because I think it's very relatable. Is that so? It's not that because I grew up in America, I just automatically like everything sugary, but it's what I've been conditioned. It's if I've had tea, it's been sweetened. So my palate, and then in America also, we don't just have simple sweets. It's sweet on top of sweet with syrup and sprinkles and fudge. There's you know what I mean? It's sugar to the max. And
Yeah.
it's really it over time
that. Even for me it was
I know. It redevelops your definition of sweetness. So you have this messed up view of what sweetness is. What I tell a lot of people with tea is I go, there is a lot of sweetness in tea. You just right off, if you're used to sugary soda, you're right. It's going to be a little harder for you to sense it, but it doesn't mean that it's not there. You just have to get your palate used to simple sugars. Oh, the sugars that are in a piece of fruit, the sugars that like these are the types of sweetnesses that are real. That is like a peach is extremely sweet. Extremely sweet, and it's like that should be our, like, when we think of something that's really really sugary, that's where we should be going. And instead it's this huge chocolate milkshake. So it's like it's not that we can't understand it, it's just that because of eating trends, our sense of what sweet is off. So it's not that you can't get tea, it's not that you can't enjoy tea that doesn't have sweetness. You may have to work on your palate a little bit. And honestly, if you listen to that should be kind of alarming to you, that your sense of sweetness is completely warped, and because of what you've been consuming. Like that to me starts to ring, red bells of sort of, I need to look into that.
There was a interesting story. 3 years ago, because of my skin, I'm neurodermitis. Neurodermitis, yeah, it's the English word as well. I have skin troubles a lot, and the theory is to avoid any sugar. So I did 100 days sugar-free competition. So including rice, potatoes, because that's also is getting into sugar in our body. So that was a really horrible journey. The third day, it was like having no drugs anymore. My whole body was shaking, and that scares me, and that tells me what sugar is doing to us. That really scares me, really. And after 10 days, I was searching for sugar things, because it was still in my mind. It was out of my body, but it was still in my mind.
Yeah.
So after 100 days, I eat the first sugar bomb, and I could not finish it. And it was really, I could not eat it anymore. And now, of course, sometimes I eat a piece of cake. But before this challenge, I had to taste every cake on the table. Now I can eat just one.
Yeah, and that's a really good point, and that always gets around in this conversation with people. Is I tell them now, when I do have a regular soda, like I'm out to dinner somewhere and I decide that's what I want, I really enjoy it.
Yeah.
And I don't drink it and then go, I want another. I drink it, and at the end I go, oh, that was really good. I really enjoyed that.
Yeah.
But I'm not immediately needing to consume more.
Yeah, and you're not addicted, because at the end of the day, it's sugar addiction.
Yeah, it's something you really you need to keep in check. It's something we all know. It's not that much of a mystery to people anymore that sugar is really bad for you and it's addictive. but still, like, so what did it for me was is I was having a ton of stomach gastrointestinal problems I think it was like 6 years ago or so. And I was working at a restaurant, and the only like free drinks you get on a shift there are like soda. So I was like always drinking soda. And then I realized that like a lot of the stomach upset probably was coming from like the acidity in the soda. And on top of being a diabetic, I really shouldn't be drinking all that sugar anyway. So I just said, you know what? I know that soda is not good for you. I really shouldn't be drinking it, especially not regularly. So I was like, I'm just going to stop drinking soda. I'm like, I'm going to make that decision to just cut this one thing out of my diet. Like you said, I felt really rough for a little while, but after that subsided, the positive changes that I saw in my body after that was insane. Like you said, I think I saw skin get better. I saw stomach problems get better, headaches get better.
There's one thing I noticed. First of all, my teeth got whiter.
Yep.
That was amazing. I watched into the mirror and said, oh, and then I got a six-pack without doing any sports.
So do you know that green tea is that green tea has naturally occurring fluoride in it?
Okay.
That's in anecdotal proof. They say that's why tea can be good for your teeth beyond just not drinking other substances.
And Mao never brush his teeth. He only washed the teeth with green tea. It's a myth or true, I don't know. That's what I say.
A myth never bothers me that it's a myth if there's a little hint of truth in there.
Yeah.
That's all I need.
Yeah, that's true.
So
yeah,
what are
the
your
sugar thing, without sugar, it improves your taste as well.
What are your plans going forward for your podcast? Do you have any sort of goals that you've set out for it, or are you just sort of using it as your creative outlet?
Definitely, I want the podcast to grow, of course. I think you are the second English episode, because I have a tea master, Wenjo. She also had an interview, but was very interesting. Yeah, I will make the podcast more international. On the other side, we have a lot of people who are speaking German. So if I'm concentrating too much on the worldwide, I'm losing the German followers. And I often hear that there's also on my YouTube channel, they say, oh, I'm so thankful because there's nearly nothing in German about tea. So I think I will concentrate on the German audience, but I definitely will get more international speakers, because there are a lot of tea people from foreign country. They see, when I'm telling my stories, the people definitely listen to me, and sometimes they're not believing it. But when I have people from all over the world, they saying the same, then they can't avoid the tea anymore. It's not possible. Yeah, the goal is to make tea more popular over here, to spread the tea. But to be honest, at the end of the day, tea is a tool for me. The tea is not, of course, I'm choosing the tea. I'm choosing the oolong or green tea when I'm getting up, or GABA in the evening, or pu'er in the evening. But for me, I'm focusing definitely on the Unytea as a method for mental cleaning, because this is what the people really need at the moment. So many people struggling with being alone at home, but they not learned how to enjoy the time with themselves. My tea master, got asked. My tea master is from Belgium, is Xiao Meilan. She is very good in tea. She knows nearly everything. When you ask for cultivars, she nearly knows everything. And even sometimes, then I got a new tea and I said, I have something new. And then she went into the next room and to take it back and showed me, I have it since 10 years over here. Yeah. But this is what the people ask her. You're not feeling alone when drinking tea. And she said, no way, I'm here and I have a cup of tea, and when I look into the cup of tea, we are two, and in the evening I have the shadow behind and we are three. So no, I'm not alone by drinking tea. And this is also
so you started drinking tea because of the communal aspect. I started drinking tea to look inside myself, and it was just a for me practice. And then all of a sudden, when I got into Gong Fu and I found more people that did Gong Fu, I was like, oh, it's really nice to be in the presence of someone else that does this. And then I learned really quick that that's how it is. Like, it is such a magnet for people, people that you wouldn't even necessarily think you'd strike up a conversation with.
Yeah. We had, I remember we had I made a tea ceremony with 7 nationalities, 6 different kind of languages. I think all 4 religions was on the table. So, and okay, we spoke English, but at the end of the day, there was no arguments, there was no stress. We all sitting together and had a nice conversation. And this is the thing, it brings people together, no matter where you are, where you're from. On a tea table, we are all the same, because the tea makes no difference. The tea don't care if you have more money than I, or if you are higher than me. The tea don't care. And this is what makes the whole thing very interesting.
Do you in Germany, or is there a lot of like social divisiveness right now? Like, are people like here in the U.S.? I mean, it's calmed down quite a bit, but there's a lot of people are having for lack of a better term, people are having problems getting along or getting things initiated that bring them together with other people. Are you guys also seeing a more of a disconnect than that is usual, or is it more? Yeah,
definitely. Yeah, definitely. Sometimes people just contact me and tell me I have a huge problem. I'm feeling alone. I'm in a home office. I just even don't go out anymore, because you can go out. Even in the lockdown, you can just go to the park over here, or you can go to the forest, but they even don't go out. So yeah, there's a lot of disconnection, and this makes and also because they are talking about 2Gs and 3Gs, about vacancy, not, and the people fight against each other, and this is what makes me sad, because at the end of the day, we are all on the same ship.
Yeah,
this is the world. I don't care if you vacancy or not.
Yeah, we all it doesn't mean that you have to like completely accept everybody's point of view either, but just accept that people have different point of view.
Yeah,
like,
and because they made a decision, you don't need to share their opinions, but you can sit as friends together. Yeah, you don't need to share it, because it's a different opinion, but you can sit as friends together. You can have a cup of tea. You can share your experience and your feelings as well. And I understand both sides. Definitely. Yeah. I understand it. Yeah, and this is what makes me sad, and what makes a lot of people disconnected. And let's say we are in Germany and we had a long history in this country. And when the neighbors call the police because someone has too much people inside their apartments, then I'd say we go back to 1944.
Yeah, it's frustrating. Luckily there are people like you that are kind of seeing this, and just yeah, I think you even more so than me, because you don't have a vendor, you have no sales end to you, that you really are doing it in the absolute most purest. Like, some people could look at sometimes when I do events and they're like, well, yeah, but he's selling tea. But you, I definitely give great
Yeah, I'm tasting
applaud to.
teas, and with some companies I'm working together and I'm getting affiliate. But at the end of the day, I don't want that people tell me what to drink. And of course, I have a little own tea shop, online shop, but I'm not promoting it that much. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's good. I've found, my experience is that some of the best tea sellers are the quietest. Like, they're not usually the people that are knocking on your door trying to sell you high mountain tea. They're usually not the best.
Yeah, that's true.
'Cause, well, I think we've cruised past our time already. I very much appreciate you joining me. Um, what are the best ways if people want to get a hold of you? What are your preferred contact info?
Yeah, just the website is in German, so das Geheimnis des Tees. Translated, it's the secret of tea.
And I'll get links
.com.
from you.
Yeah, and on Instagram as well. Official Ye Ming. This is the name, or das Geheimnis des Tees in German. So yeah, welcome everyone. We do a lot of. I can switch the language in live talk as well. If someone has a question, you're welcome. Just write me an email, drop me a message, a PM, whatever you want. You're very welcome.
Yeah,
And I would definitely will translate the online course into English, because I was in Prague last time and they also asked me.
Hey. Well, even if they don't, even if, like you said, even if they pop in your live session, I can easily say that you can still get a lot out of it, even if you don't speak German. But again, thank you very much. I hope that everything, continues to improve for you, and that soon you'll be back on your way to serving tea face to face.
Yeah, that would be great.
So cheers
Thank
to
you for inviting me.
Thank you, of course. Cheers.
Cheers.